Forgotten Kingdom. So this game is basically an adventure role-playing game with some movement and collection.
A lot of movement.
I don't know if I'd call it a role-playing game. I mean,
So there's definitely a theme to it. So
definitely
basically,
an adventure game.
So basically, you go throughout the board, you defeat different challenges. Once you defeat those challenges, you change those challenges into memory tiles, and then you place the memory tiles to eventually, hopefully, basically remember your kingdom. Because this right now is the Forgotten Kingdom, and you're trying to make it back to what it once was. And obviously, there's an evil wizard that tries to create havoc and prevent you from doing those things. So that's kind of the overarching theme for this game. It is rated for 13 plus. We did a box opening from this game, and it's done by Marbushka Toy Company, and
I can't do the stats off of Board Game Geek because there's no stats to find on.
Yeah, so it's Arthur and illustrator is Beatrix Bahoney. I found her randomly through Twitter. Bought several of her games, and this is one of those games. So let's get into quality of pieces. Quality of pieces, you have standard cardboard hexagons that are for the memory tiles as well as for the challenges.
Standard cubes.
You have the wooden cubes; those are pretty standard.
You have a board that is folded, multiple ways to fit into that box.
It's folded in 6 pieces, basically,
and it's really hard to keep it flat.
Yeah, it is. That is a pretty big negative, I think, because it just, especially with all the tile placements, those bends really are annoying. Then you also have a spinner. I think the spinner is actually pretty decent quality.
As far as spinners go,
yeah.
Well, as far as spinners goes, but I do think it is pretty alright for spinners.
All of her games so far, at least that we've tried or looked at, have had spinners, which I hate spinners, so I don't understand. I guess it's,
it's almost like make your own dice already.
Yeah.
All right, and then the other piece of it is you do have standees. They're already glued in, and they have wooden bases, so that was a little unique when we originally looked at her games.
Except they're small.
Yeah, the bases are really small. They don't hold up, they're easy to knock over certain characters.
I agree, but I think that if the board stayed flat, it wouldn't have been as bad.
Yeah, I agree with that. The card quality, I got to admit, when I was shuffling, they kind of bend a little too easily. I would be really scared about long-term use. This is 13 and up, so it's like thinking of a group of teenagers playing with these cards. These would be damaged and...
I think in combination with the thickness and just looking at it, I could see these peeling pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So you would need a sleeve.
So that makes me a little nervous, but overall, I think. And then the other part of quality is we had to print our own.
Yeah, there was no rule book.
No rule book.
There was no rule book.
So technically, we can't even review the rules because there weren't in the box.
Now, I will say it was super easy to go to the Marbushka's website, print off the rules. They have all the rules for all of their games in multiple languages. So there was that piece of it. That piece was kind of nice, but again, I shouldn't have had to print off rules. So there's that piece of it as well. So giving quality a score, what do you guys think?
I don't think it's any more special than Catan. I'd give it a 5 as far as quality. I mean, if the board stayed flat, I'd probably bump it up to a 6. But
yeah, I think
the board being the way it is a huge negative for me, and so I think it bumps it back down to a 5.
Yeah, I think everything's functional, and if it wasn't for the board quality and the fact that we were missing a rule book, that just
and the cards.
Yeah,
the card quality is not great by any stretch of the imagination, but so I'd have to say I almost agree with you with the 5 just because the bend up board. If it wasn't for the bend up, well, and then the missing piece, like that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, I mean, I'm giving it a 4 because of the missing rules. I mean, the fact is if I had bought a game of Catan, it would have the rules in it.
You're right.
So I mean, and the quality of the components is not as good as any or any better than Catan.
Right.
So I'm giving it a 4 because of that.
Yeah. So moving on to theme. This is where this game shines. I love the premise of the game, trying to find memories, trying to put your the kingdom back together again.
It's kind of like a Viking theme. It's a Viking feel to it anyway.
There's something. Well, it's honestly its own world. I almost feel like because you have
Viking.
But,
Yeah,
but I mean, when you look at some of the guys, I mean, he looks like a Viking.
But none of the other players do.
No.
And honestly, I thought he more looked
I
like
think mine's a
from
hipster.
the Hun from Mulan.
Mine was a hipster traveling around.
Yeah. So
They didn't have
I mean,
them,
but the thing
alright.
is, it is a cohesive world, and I feel like I want to hear more about this world that we've been invited to.
I wish there was more story to it, because I agree. It looks like it could be a really interesting story around it. Like, how did they forget about this kingdom? And, how did they know there was this kingdom to even start trying to remember and things like that? I think that could be really interesting.
I think it's a great premise, and I wish there was more to it to really envelop you within the theme. And then the artwork for this, I love this
Cool.
style
Yeah,
of
the art
artwork.
is
gorgeous
beautiful.
game.
I mean, even the rulebook, when we did get it printed out, it had great, amazing art in it. I just wish we would have had a physical copy of it.
Right.
So absolutely phenomenal. What would you guys put a score on it, though?
It's hard. If you guys are familiar with Miko, the artist, it reminds me a lot of that. So Architects of the West Kingdom, Paladins of the West Kingdom, all of those games, the artwork is very similar to that. So if you know that artwork, you'll know exactly this style.
I
which
personally
is
think this
great.
art is a little better than that.
I do think it's better than that.
I think it's more detailed and
I don't know. Architects has got some really nice artwork.
some of it, but I think it's a little more plain. This to me had a little more flavor to the art.
Yeah, and plus all the cards with the different. I do think this is a little more better than Paladins. But I do think it's the kind of same type of style. I just do think that this one's better in that style, if you like it. But the score.
I would give it a 7. I think I would give it more if they gave it more details about the background of the game and the whole premise of how it got forgotten, the whole point of the wizard and what was his point and all that. I would give it a higher score. But based off of artwork alone, it's a 7.
Yeah, I feel like with it being an adventure game, it should have a backstory to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think, it had a little bit in the rule books, but not enough to really dig in. I'm actually going to give it an 8 though, because the artwork is so amazing, and that's where we include it. That's where we include artwork as theme. I think it's a beautiful game to view and look at, and so for that one, I'm giving it an 8.
Yeah, I'm okay with an 8 on this one. I mean, as far as the art, I think is top notch. I think the the encompassing of feeling of going on an epic quest definitely feels like that in this game. I'll tell you.
Epic is the key word. Long.
So yeah, I mean, I can see an 8 on this for theme.
All right, so moving on to rules. So,
like I said, I don't know if it's fair to even assess the rules because.
well, first
no,
of all,
I'm the one that read the
all
rules.
right.
Miranda
I had
read
to
the
reread
rules.
them.
Only certain parts of it. So I actually read the rules. There's picture evidence.
Ooh, there's random reading rules.
Mind you, they're only not very many pages. Otherwise, it probably wouldn't have happened.
And yet, Ratty had to reread the rules.
And correct them.
And we
What
still
did you
missed stuff.
correct? Whatever.
And we still missed stuff.
So I will say, actually, I do like the layout. It had
Yeah.
simple playout, it had setup, then it had, this is the 2 actions that you take, and then it went into detail and very good sections. Okay, if you did this action, this is the stuff about this particular thing.
In very choppy English.
That is the thing. This is translated. English is not its native, printing. So I do think that is a consideration, but I don't think it was that bad. I think it was all right. You understood it, mostly.
And it felt like there were some of the rules that were missing. I mean, as you're going through, I think it felt like some of the rules, if you interpreted them correctly, would have done something different than what the rules in the book literally translated and said. So I think there were some of the actions that felt like you almost had to house rule it just because they left it out of the book.
Yeah, that may be the case. I think there are definitely some instances where I was like, man, if they had just done this one little thing, I think it would have been a lot better. So what would you give it since you had to reread?
Probably a 3.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Because of the fact that it was totally missing the rule book in the box, and I'm evaluating what's in the box. There was no rule book in the box.
But if you took it,
If I got the rule book off online, it should be correct because they can update it anytime they want. It should be the latest and greatest in the most recent version. And when you get it downloaded and you print it, it's still wrong. I mean, going through and trying
What
to
was
read
exactly wrong?
the palace, the castle. There's a tile in the game that does no reference in the book as to what you do with it, and you had to translate it. They turned out and named it something differently in the manual than what was on the tile. And they have a picture of it in the book with the name castle elsewhere in the book, but they don't reference it. I mean, there's things like that were in the book that were completely wrong.
I think that's only the one thing, though.
Well, I think there's also some absences. I really think we interpreted the rules literally from what was in here, and it didn't play the way it really should have. So I think that there's enough house ruling you would have to do to make this truly the way it should be played. That this is missing those rules. I don't think it's that I think we interpreted it.
And then as a group,
Literally.
just so you guys know, we are not fans of house ruling.
Right.
So we like to read the rules, play it as it was designed, and if it doesn't play well, we're going to evaluate it as is.
Right.
If we have to house rule it, it's not the same game anymore.
I'm not going to give it a 3. Okay, I will say negative points for not even being in the box. I agree with that one. But if we did actually get the rules, I don't think a 3 is very fair.
So what would you rank it? I mean, because you did teach it for 90% of the game. You did teach it. So.
I think it was really easy to find the information I needed. It wasn't too long. It was easy to get into, jump in. And I think that should evaluate. I do think a 7. Do I think that there was some translation issues? Absolutely. Do I think that I really wish it was in the box? Yes. But overall, if I take that away, I think it was fine. I think it was good, and it was easy to find answers. So,
Well, the other thing is the cards. You needed a cheat sheet. They built
hallelujah. Yeah,
it. They put it in the middle of the book. I mean, it wasn't like at the end. It was.
Yeah, it was. It was right here. Right here. Literally. These 2 pages.
All right. Well, you. Okay.
Well, I didn't really read the rules, but knowing what Miranda read through, seeing what Randy did, and then I looked through it a couple times for clarification, I can't give it more than a 5 because, at least with like Catan's rules, it was very straightforward, easy to run through, and I didn't have to re-reference it. But because only negatives is the translation. I mean, to Randy's point, with it being a digital rule book, should be real easy to fix.
Yeah.
And
Well, I mean, the thing is
But
this
how
is
many
not a
people-
well-known.
Exactly.
This is not a well-known designer, and that most of what they've done is kid games. So, maybe they're,
right.
they haven't gotten that
I
feedback.
I understand that.
But I do understand that point of view. But I do say when we had to go look up rules, they were easy to find. The way it was set up was super easy to locate what you were questioning. Although we did have a lot of questions. So I think. What have we got? 3, 5, and 7. So probably added enough set to 5. So now we're moving on to gameplay. I think there's a lot of diverse opinions.
Yes.
I don't know how diverse.
Well,
It's pretty two-sided. I
Yeah.
mean,
so let's start out
One
with.
of us really, really wanted to like this game.
Okay, so let's start off with positives. Okay.
Do we have to?
Yes. So we're starting
Is
with.
there any?
It's over.
No, that's not fair. That's not fair to this game at all.
so gameplay-wise, we've already talked about theme. So gameplay-wise,
Right. So
what
gameplay.
are your
So
positives?
gameplay. Well, let's go over a little synopsis. So what we kind of already did at the beginning is that you're trying to defeat challenges and you're trying to gain those memories back to be able to place them back on the board. I like the idea of recreating the kingdom and going through that process. I like the adventuring aspect. It is an adventure game, and it does, there's that piece that I actually liked. I liked that the challenges were actually fairly difficult, and I loved the team up aspect. I like the fact that you could team up, because it is, at the end of the game, it is a co-op, and the fact that you have to defeat the evil wizard to win the game. I do wish there was a timing mechanism to where you had to beat them in so many rounds, but I did like the fact that you could team up with other people. Now, you didn't get the full bonuses of winning. You gave them some to that person that you teamed up with, but I do like that mechanism. I thought that was actually pretty cool.
I did like the team up aspect. I wish that there was more ways of being able to do it. It wasn't card based.
Yeah.
Because the challenging part was that it was too challenging in the very beginning, and then towards the end of the game it was easier, but it still was always just out of reach for me. It was always 1 or 2 points.
Well, to illustrate, we didn't really talk about. There's 3 tiers of challenges. There's even though there's 2 tiers of tiles, there's 3 tiers of challenges. So you had the yellow tier, which was the easy ones that were out there, the green, which was the middle, and the blue, which were the difficult. And you started with the backs of them showing green and what they call blue, which is really silver, just a dark,
but it's
different shade of silver.
different.
So the green ones had yellow or green challenges in them. And the blue ones, what they call blue, were green or blue challenges. So when you faced them, you didn't know when you're flipping the tile over if you were going to get a yellow or a green or a blue or a green when you're going against the harder ones. And when you're starting out, you have no strength based upon your base character. So you have to play cards, which there's only, I'd say maybe 10% of that deck that were actually attack cards that helped you. Specifically neutral attack cards. Because there are some attack cards that were specific to colors, which was one of the challenges we had in this game. Is if you didn't have those attack cards, you were going in blind, and it was a severe penalty if you lost, because you lost victory points. And if you know, poor Rob was for most of the game at 0 because he kept getting points and then losing them all right away. And if you don't build up your strength by defeating creatures, you're going to have a serious difficulty later in the game.
Yeah, and this game plays up to 6. No way.
No, we played 4, and it was completely unevenly at the end. It's distributed as far as people's build up.
Yeah, there is no way there would be enough challenges for 6 people. None. There's no way you could build up that character high enough.
Right.
So if you defeated all the yellow characters, somebody's going to be out of luck, especially with 6 players. There's just the game would stall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, definitely. At 4 stretches it. I think you could not play any more than 4.
That's an interesting point, though. I mean, even though I didn't care for the game, I wonder how much it different would play at 2-player.
Yeah.
Because with that many more challenges available to 2 people, and being able to move around the map and do more because you're not worried about other people getting in your way, it might open up a little bit.
Well, I really don't think they play tested this with up to 6 people. I think they play tested it with 2 people and thought, oh, this is great, but it isn't going to scale at all. I mean, it didn't scale to 4.
And it would be fine if there was more tiles that you could, because there's plenty of room on the board.
Yeah.
Like, you could have added challenge tiles, not even the memory tiles, just add more challenge tiles
just like,
around
not
the board.
necessarily a city, because these are like all based around cities. Like just random like forest tiles or mountain tiles that didn't connect to the cities. It's just challenges.
Yeah. I think here's the struggle with me. I love the concept of this game. I don't think they fulfilled it the way they should have.
I think it was that testing part that Randy brought up. I don't know if they executed it as well as we would.
Yeah, because I'm thinking about it, and there's so many things they could have done. Like if with more players you added more random tiles. If you allowed for actual equipment. Like, that's the thing that I didn't like, is there was, like, a sword. You should have been able to keep the sword. Even if there was a penalty somehow, it took a turn to equip it, right? Or something like that.
Or you have to spend an experience point to use it, or a victory point to use it. Some negative,
right,
but not so bad that it wasn't worthwhile using it.
Right, correct. So, I feel like the bones are there. They just need to do some serious adjustments. Some more developing to really to be able to knock this out of the park.
And to explain, when you fight a creature, you're going in with whatever strength you've built up, which is going to be 1 point per each one of these challenges you've defeated, and potentially 3 bonus points for having got your spirit animal in the game. And then you spin a spinner. And that spinner is going to tell you how much strength you get as far as your battle.
And it ranges 2 to 8 based off of the collar. Or 10 based off the collar you are allowed to use.
And there's an instant kill space.
Instant win.
So somebody spun it like every time they took a battle.
But you got at least 3.
But
I
got 2. You got 1.
I got 1 at the end of the game.
Caleb got 1.
But the fact is if you're going in to fight a creature, you have to know you've got a shot. So you're looking at the spinner to say, okay, what are my probability of beating this creature?
And
that's got to be based on the strength. But if you didn't have those plus modifier cards, that there's only about 10% of the deck that had, you're going in and fighting something with the hope that you spend an instant kill.
And that was part of my problem was I went in thinking I had a chance, and I came up several times one short.
Yeah.
Just one short. And no way to do it. And no way to ask for help because I didn't have the right cards. They didn't have the right cards. I couldn't figure out something.
I almost wish you could have asked for help without the remove that completely. You could ask for help because you're losing victory points by asking for help. And I think that would have been fine to be able to do.
Or if there was even like another resource, like you got money, and then you could say, all right, Caleb, I want to pay you X dollars to come help me. Right. And then that opens up because if I like beat a tile and I get 5 victory points, great, and you get $3.
Yeah.
And then it costs $5 to get someone to help.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. And to have some of the attack cards be color specific to the creature you're fighting was silly because once you wiped out all the easy creatures, which is the first things you're going to target, the yellow bonus cards are useless. Right. They just take up space. I think
Miranda had a great idea to compensate for that.
To compensate.
But again, another house rule.
Right.
Right. You basically use the yellow from yellow and up. So you can use yellow for yellow. You can use it for green. You can use it for purple,
blue,
but it's blue.
Yeah, whatever.
And then the green for the green and the blue.
And blue just blue.
Blue for just blue. And then that way it kind of keeps it, but it keeps some of those cards relevant.
Right.
Because the other point of it is you end up with cards in your hands that aren't very useful. And you have to use your whole turn to discard them. That's part of it is you have to, all right, I'm going to discard all 3 of my cards to draw 3 new ones. But you lose a turn doing that, which I would be like, in the end of the game, that's happening a lot more frequently. You're like, this is all crap. Like,
and the worst part of that is Caleb's unfortunate luck. So yeah, he could discard 3 cards, but he got all curses, and so then you have to play curses immediately, and it just there's not many that help you. I mean, granted, it's a curse, it's not supposed to help you, but it ruined his game.
In a row,
yeah,
even after twice.
They saw me shuffle. Yeah.
Because I didn't think she shuffled, and then it happened twice again.
Yeah, there were way too many curse cards in the deck.
The curses sucked.
Yeah. Yeah. And then there was the whole problem of when you got the cards, you would draw them, and then you had to discard your cards again, draw another set, discard those cards again. So by the time it's like you've taken up, I don't know, half the deck on your turn for just throwing them away.
I wonder if it had been better, like, no matter what you drew, you didn't play them until the beginning of your next turn.
Yeah. I mean, it was just felt like you were just doing things in this.
Because snap those cards, that end your turn.
Right, but still, then it would actually be a curse instead of you just cycling through the deck.
Yeah, I feel like
curse after curse after curse.
No, because then I would never get a play.
And then there was the whole random 5-point scoring just for the heck of it.
I don't like those. I don't. That doesn't even.
I mean, Miranda got 2 of these 5-point bonuses right from the start of the game.
So I was able to get my. So I was able to get my spirit animal right real quick. And but then you guys got the spirit animal like the round after.
We all got him pretty quick.
Yeah, the spirit animal wasn't a big challenge. It was just the fact that you got a huge advantage just from out of the gate.
Yeah, but then you ended up getting it 3 later on. And
I know. I'm just saying 15. It was silly. I didn't feel like I won. I got 3 of them at the end, and it didn't matter.
So these should probably be taken out.
Yeah, I mean.
But again, it'd be another house rule.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing is. The theme I absolutely love. It had the bones for a fantastic game, but I just don't think it was executed the way it should have.
There should have been more developing of the game, testing and developing.
Yeah.
I think if they did another 6 months worth of work of just getting gamers to play it and getting their feedback, it probably could have made a huge difference.
Yeah, I mean, for the content you had in this game, it was way too long. You had to go traveling across the board, and you could move 3 spaces per turn. And once the board got later in the game,
but there were plenty of cards that like you jump around the board. They have the corridor.
I understand that.
Was there plenty? I didn't see a single one.
Oh, I thought
there were.
You guys saw. I never.
But the thing is once you got to the top of the board where you could. The other thing is when you defeat the monster, they stay on the monster side of the face until you travel to the Mine of Memories.
I actually like that because these make them vulnerable until you turn them in, and then
that would be fine if the Mine of Memories had things to do around it. The problem is we had already filled up the board up there, so you were journeying all these spaces to do nothing along the way to get to the Mine of Memories where you could cash in these to get the tokens to play onto the board, so then you could walk all the way back down to the bottom of the board again to play them. And it was just like, this is silly. I mean, there's nothing to do up here, and then you get up there, and if you get a snowstorm or anything else, you're just stranded. I spent like 5 turns sitting on the Mine of Memories for no reason, and poor Caleb was stuck there. I don't know how long.
And got attacked by the wizard.
Yeah, I mean, it was just this
The
is
wizard is a jerk.
pointless
Just so you guys
walking.
know he's a
No,
jerk.
okay.
It felt like the beginning of the Lord of the Rings, the first movie. The whole movie
I
was
will
just nothing
say-
but walking.
I will say, for a villain, we do hate this guy.
Yeah, he's a jerk.
I didn't mind him at the end, where I was able to punch him in the face several times.
No, but I do think I will say they made this guy pretty scary to not be. So
25, and he beat me round 1. Like I was able to compete with 25. There's no way. That's stupid. You
well,
know?
the thing is, he is a true villain. Like I hate
Yeah,
villains
but
that
you
are
should
like,
have
oh,
Nerf
I'm right
gloves
left.
on. You should have Nerf gloves on or something for the first few rounds. So not 25, maybe 15 or 10 or something. I mean,
But-
come on.
I will say though, actually, you know what I think for this villain is that these should be his power, and while the memories are in here, that should be his power level. So as you collect memories, it actually decreases his power because
That
that's
kinda
the whole
makes
point.
sense.
That's the opposite of what he wants. He would have been easier to punch in the face at the end. It would have
No,
been
but
anticlimactic.
the thing is, he is a true enemy.
I don't mind the fact. I don't mind. It's reminiscent of Munchkin.
Oh, yeah.
Munchkin. It's like Munchkin. You can drop a 25 dragon on somebody
Yeah.
after you try their shoestrings together. I don't mind that. He's not the problem. He
He
was
was
the
the
best
problem
part of
round
the
one.
game, in my opinion. The problem is there's not enough to do on the game board as you get going into the game and things are filling up. All you're doing is at the end, once all of these tiles were claimed, all you were doing was walking around because there was nothing to do.
Right. The end game
I know, it would have been
really
better.
needed a lot of help.
So here's the thing. So part of the thing is at the beginning of the game, we kind of messed up and didn't realize you could play as many memory tiles when you take that turn. And so in the end, we could
That
only
really
play
lengthened the game.
that lengthened the game. So I think, to be fair, I think it wouldn't have been so bad if we would have
Played that part correctly.
played that part correctly. So when being able to play through memory tiles all the way.
But that I don't know if that helps the end game.
Yeah, it doesn't change it.
Because you still get to the point where all of the tiles from the Mine of Memories are gone. So you're literally waiting until those get played until you can end the game.
Yeah.
And there's nothing a whole lot you can do
The score is already
during
determined.
that time frame.
The score, who's going to win, is already determined at that point. There's no way other
Well,
than
the
to punch
shaman
him in the
lets you-
face. That's the only way that you can score points at that point.
And then the shaman, I didn't like. You guys didn't like the instant points. I did not like the shaman. And the shaman allows you to switch one of your Mine of Memory tiles with someone else's. So the idea then is that you go and you wait. And so this person defeats this tile. You play your shaman, switch it around so that then you can steal their tile and place it immediately. That's just rude.
No, you couldn't place immediately.
But you still got it. And
You still got it.
And so and there's not a whole lot of shamans out there. So it's possible you would have one, but is it likely?
No.
Probably not.
So-
So then, bam, you're screwed.
But there are cards that allow you to move tiles to other locations, so you could have screwed them up and be like, "Hey, you took mine, I'm taking it."
I agree, but there was
I-
still
I don't
it's
mind
not
that.
as bad.
Yeah, I don't mind that a little bit of tackness,
I don't either.
so I didn't mind that little bit of attackness, but
But there, even though there's no player elimination, it felt like player elimination because there was nothing that Caleb and I could really do. What, the last half of the game?
I think
Really?
an adventure area that no matter what, you could go and defeat additional challenges or something like that, like going into the wilds or something to where you had an opportunity to build up. Because I do think there was a disparity. You know, I had 6, he had 6, but you guys only had like 3 or 4 until the very end, and that's
with y'all's help.
Yeah,
Right.
and that's because we helped you guys a lot.
Yeah. If I didn't get the help, I would have had nowhere near the amount of points I had.
Right. So I do think.
I mean, yes, if there was a section where you can like defeat demon kitties, I'd be good with that. So if you could kill demon kitties, I'd be happy.
I don't know. Demon kitties sound kind of tough.
So the thing is, and I think this is what it says to me in those. This had so much potential, and they didn't live up to it.
Yeah, and I think that's part of my negative is that it looks like, I mean, one, it looks beautiful.
It looks
but
fantastic.
some of the possibilities, and it's just disappointing that it didn't meet those expectations.
Yeah,
And so, and that in of itself is a negative.
yeah, and the thing is, it's 13 plus. and I'm trying to think, okay, is that the reason why it's not fully fleshed out? Maybe if you had if it was, but I'm like, no, because even a 13-year-old, I'm not even like.
I don't understand why it's 13 plus.
I don't either. There's
It's
nothing about it that, I mean, there's no mature subject matter, so
It's not
there's
like
not
it's
that.
something.
It's not complex.
This is something a 10-year-old at minimum could grasp easily.
Yeah.
Yeah, you spin the spinner, you count your points,
Yeah,
and
it's-
call it.
yeah.
So, like, I'm trying to, in my viewpoint, is it because it's meant for younger that it's not reaching its expectations? But I'm thinking, no, there's some things you could definitely have added and still stayed with the 13 plus. So, I don't know. Let's give it a score.
Demon Kitties would have made it 13 plus.
Give it a score.
Overall gameplay, I'm sorry, I'm going to give it a 4.
Worse than Catan.
Significantly less. Significantly worse than Catan.
Okay, what about you?
I was playing Wasteland. How could we be playing bees?
No,
I absolutely.
No, that game was awful.
This is a 2 for me. This is a absolutely.
Wow.
I barely giving it a 2.
Wow, I don't think it's that bad. I'm actually going to give this a 6. I like a lot of aspects of it. I didn't find it nearly as excruciating as you guys did, but it does have so much potential. I wish they would have reached it.
What do you think, Caleb?
2. It wasn't fleshed out enough.
It
To
wasn't
me-
fun at all. It
To
was
me,
just
it was
a
just
drag.
pretty art that we were going
Yeah,
with different
it was
tiles.
pretty
to.
art.
That's all it was to me.
I think the only reason why I'm going at 4 instead of even lower is that we did have some funny moments.
Oh, well, we had a good
And
laugh
we got some
making fun of the
experience.
game.
Well, but the wizard- the
but
wizard
that
was-
is part of it.
But like the wizard was fantastic. The being
No,
I like
The
some-
wizard was not fantastic. You beat him
Especially-
round 1.
He was the best part of the game. I'll give you that.
No. He's a jerk.
I agree. I kept getting attacked by the wizard before my turn, like 3 times before my turn. And then a snowstorm happened. So I was only in the same space for like half the game.
I just kept staring at my cards, thinking, at least I can look at these. But I mean, the game took 2.5 hours of pain and I mean,
It was
Bees
rough.
was over in 10 minutes.
I don't think it's that bad. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. I guess some of us had fun, some of us didn't tonight, but we hope that at least you guys enjoyed. At least you know a little bit more about this particular game.
And if you've got to play it, please let us know what you think of the game. Because,
Yes.
you know, we could be wrong or granted this is our opinion, but, you know, maybe we missed something and maybe you got something else out of it that we didn't get.
Or maybe you
That
know a
could
set
make
of
huge
house
difference.
rules to make it better because maybe they needed.
I don't believe in house rules, but this game needs
I think the best thing for this is turn this into a box of chocolates because that's what it looks like.
No,
So.
it's so pretty.
Yes, it is pretty. It would make a very nice box of chocolates.
But this is never probably going to get to the table again because y'all suck.
it.
So, all right, thank you guys. Bye.
Bye.